Hello from Knife and Fork Farm. The purpose of today's video is to introduce you to the pork we raise here on Knife and Fork Farm on pasture and finish in the forest, and compare that product to other pork produced in the marketplace. First of all, we raise large black hogs, which is a heritage breed. It's actually listed as critically endangered. The nice thing about large black hogs and the way we produce is that hog naturally thrives on pasture. They love to forage, they hate confinement, and they do very well just being natural hogs on savanna pasture or in the woods. They're also a very docile hog, which means low stress, and they just enjoy playing, rooting, running around. This affects meat quality. The large black hog is known for what's called micro marbling, which is, if you take a look, it's the little specks of fat within the meat. They also have a large fat back, which self-baste the product while you're cooking. They're much slower growers than most typical hogs, so that time is spent actually producing a high quality meat. We're going to compare that to a Duroc. This Duroc chop is available at a national producer. The reason why Duroc hogs are used is there are a heritage breed hog, and there is a marketplace for more commercially bred hogs. They do have a good meat quality, but why producers like them and why they're much cheaper than a slower growing hog is because, first of all, they're leaner, which produces bigger yields. They're much faster growing. They are adaptable to indoor production, and they're very easy to obtain as far as breeding stock. So there's a definite difference in how quickly they grow and the yield on the product. It doesn't necessarily make it better pork, but that's why they're commercially available and a much cheaper product. When you're looking for high quality pork, not only should you consider the breed of the hog, but also think about the lifestyle. Here at Knife and Fork Farm, our large black hogs are pasture raised and forest finished. What that means is both for diet and exercise, they're different than an animal that is just given feed in an outdoor environment. First of all, let's talk about what our pasture environment and forest finishing means. It allows the pigs to be pigs. They're allowed to root and forage for grubs and acorns and all the natural goodness. They also are in a rotational system where they're not in that environment for very long, so they're only eating the best. And what happens is they do grow slower, but their lifestyle is much more active because they're actually foraging for their own food. They're developing muscle. They're also developing that inner muscular fat, which is flavor and tenderness and self-basting when you're cooking. They're also occupied because they're working for their food. If you compare this, these two pork chops are actually the same breed and genetically they're cousins, where this product was raised on GMO-free food, but they didn't have any exposure to pasture or forest. If you look, there's less marbling. There's also a bigger fat back because these hogs weren't as active. This hog was processed at about 245 pounds, and this was closer to 300. If you notice the meat quality also, the one raised on pasture is much darker. This almost looks like a ribeye steak with darker meat compared to a much paler meat. When you're passionate about the foods you eat, taste is always king. At Knife and Fork Farm, we have that great meat to fat ratio, which is more satisfying. It produces tender meat, flavorful meat, and fat, and it's more forgiving when you cook. Not only is it tastier, but it's also more nutritious. We have higher levels of omega-3s, higher levels of antioxidants, higher levels of vitamin D. Because we raise on pasture, we also have a lower impact on the environment. I'd like to talk about the cooking process between our large black hog that was pasture raised and the Duroc from the large major grocery chain. Cooked them exactly the same, both pan seared in a cast iron pan with a little salt and pepper, and then finished in the oven until they were done. A couple things I noticed while cooking. First of all, the browning on our product was very even. It actually was very quick. The smell when cooking was this nutty, luscious smell and minimal shrinkage. And the shrinkage that we did get was very even. Compared to the Duroc, virtually almost all the fat that was on the cap melted away. Very uneven browning. There was a little bit of an off odor while cooking, and it actually took about the same amount of time to cook this chop compared to this chop. Let's cut into what we've cooked. I only get one take on this, so it better be right the first time. So this is the Duroc, cooked to the same temperature as our pasture raised large black hog, finished in the forest. See how moist and juicy that is compared? Nice marbling in the meat. Look, they both rested for the same amount of time. This one, hardly any juice. This one practically is falling apart, melted in my mouth, in my hands. If you want to taste the difference, contact us at 859-212-0900 or at knifeandforkfarm@gmail.com. Hope to hear from you soon.